Wahaha! Welcome to another episode of A Recent Study Suggests. I am your host, Robert the Vampire, and with me, my co-host.
Ooh, Sam.
Ooh, spooky. In today's episode, we are taking off our mask, or rather, we are putting them on and revealing who we really are.
Could you imagine how scary that would actually be? Like if I was actually a ghost this whole time.
A human. You're no longer a ghost.
I'm scarier as a human?
Yeah, like I'm the vampire scared of the human.
Oh. Why would a vampire be scared of a human?
Well, I'm thinking it's a vampire and a ghost, and now all of a sudden you're a human?
I guess.
That's scary.
Oh, wait, yeah, I guess
it's surprising.
A human would be more likely to, like, put a stake in you.
Oh, yeah. Vampire, or a human would try to kill you.
That's true.
Or try to kill me, I guess. I'm the vampire. But you're the ghost.
Like, actually a ghost. That's awful. That's like something out of a bad dream.
You know, I sometimes do mess with you and like act like, what if I'm just a figment of your imagination?
Oh my goodness.
And you've been imagining me the whole time. I'm not really here.
That is actually terrifying to think about, which is perfectly in line with today's episode because it's our first Halloween episode.
Yes, this is also our first themed episode, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Like around a specific holiday.
That's true.
So do you have much experience with Halloween?
Do I have much experience with Halloween? Yeah. This would be my 26th one.
So you've celebrated every single year. Do you remember how old you were when you celebrated your first Halloween?
I remember my first costume.
Your first costume?
I guess that goes hand in hand, yeah.
So do you remember how old you were then? Or do you just remember your first costume?
I was like 4 or 5.
4 or 5, okay.
Do you remember your first Halloween that you celebrated?
No, I mean, I think we've talked about my memory issues in the past episode, but like childhood, younger, I was just younger. I don't remember any specific ages. I don't have like any like real memories like around the holidays. I have a story that I'll tell later in the podcast, but it's like kind of encapsulates like what my childhood is, and like maybe it explains why I choose not to remember things or why I block things out.
Aw, that's where the suppression began. All with Halloween.
All with Halloween.
That's so sad.
Yeah, it was too scary for me to remember.
I have some sad Halloweens too, but maybe not as sad as yours. So yours is like actually sad.
So yeah, what is this podcast? This is a Recent Study Suggests.
Yes, this is a Recent Study Suggests. And as the name would suggest, we talk about studies that came out recently that oftentimes just get us talking. They're basically just conversation starters. Some of them are questionable and others we agree with.
Yeah, and we actually mostly look at like articles based on studies, because the studies themselves, they are very like scientific. Mm-hmm. And so they don't give that opinion or
the summarization of the study.
It's just more facts and figures, and that's not the podcast that we just wanted to be. We didn't want to just throw facts and numbers at you.
We didn't want to dump 8 to 10 pages worth of a bunch of percentages and things like that. Also, if you guys have ever looked into research studies, oftentimes you can't even access the whole thing. You get like the abstract and you have to pay. Yeah,
because they're published in actual like medical journals.
Yeah, and we want this to be more accessible to you guys as well. We don't want you to have to pay $20, $30, $40 just to read through these studies that we talk about. So the articles do a really good job
of summarizing and like giving us an idea of what the study is. And they always do link back to the study, so we do look at the actual study, but just the abstract.
Yeah, so it's not just a study that was made up by someone who wanted to create an interesting article. There are actually studies that are referenced. So if you guys ever find any articles, they don't have to be full-on 8 to 10 page studies. If you ever find any, you can just send them off to us.
Yeah, you can actually send them off to us at arecentstudysuggest@gmail.com.
Yeah, boy.
Early plug.
But today, we're talking about a Halloween study, which this one I'm very excited about. It's about how Halloween makes children evil.
What? Mm-hmm. Halloween makes kids evil?
Yeah.
That seems so strong of a word, so like evil.
Which I think is so funny because based off of your experience, I feel like it could also make kids sad.
But I guess maybe more specifically me sad. But okay, so the headline itself, Halloween makes kids evil. What are you thinking? Do you think that makes sense? Do you think it just sounds really dramatic?
I think it makes sense.
Do you think that it's talking about like the sugar? Because like Halloween, kids are getting a bunch of Halloween candy, sugar, and so it makes them all hyper, and so that's what they're saying. That's how it makes them evil.
That wasn't my first thought.
That wasn't my first thought either, but, just rereading the headline, I'm thinking maybe that's where it's going.
I think it has a lot to do with costumes.
With costumes? Mm-hmm. Okay, why do you think that?
They can become whoever they want.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that they can, pretend to be someone else, someone who they're not. If they're normally, I guess, good or nice, they can actually take on the persona of the person that they're dressing up as?
Yeah. That was my first thought because I could kind of identify with that a little bit, which is a story that I will get into later. But yeah, it gives you permission for at least one night out of the year to be anybody but yourself.
And I think that applies to adults now.
Oh, yeah,
because,
for sure.
So honestly, sometimes I can't tell who likes Halloween more, adults or kids. Because adults, there's always like costume parties, and there's a whole bunch of like sexy costumes, and it kind of gives people, adults, an excuse to let loose.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense because as adults, we all have jobs. And if you have a corporate job and you're behind a desk, then you don't really have that wiggle room, or like you can't dress more casually. I guess now people are working from home, so you can dress however you want. But there are still a fair few amount of people who are going to work and they have to wear a suit and tie or whatever. And so, yeah.
So who do you think, like, this isn't even part of the study, but who do you think enjoys Halloween more? Kids or adults?
I still think that kids enjoy it more.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can decide one way or the other.
I think it's kids just because personally, like, I'm an adult and I don't enjoy Halloween. But as a kid, I loved it. I would look forward to it. I remember thinking about what my costume would be all year long. Like, do I want to be like a witch? Do I want to be like a fairy? Do I want to be this other character that I'm currently into because it was on Disney Channel or Nickelodeon? So
okay, so that makes me wonder, what did you look forward to for Halloween? Like, did you look forward to candy, costume?
I don't really know. Maybe it was the costume, but I loved Halloween. I loved all of the movies that would come out. I loved being able to decide who I was going to be that night, and I loved all of the candy at the end of the night. Just seeing my stash, that was always great.
Were there a lot of Halloween movies?
Oh my goodness, yes.
I don't feel like I remember any.
Oh my goodness, Robert. Well, there was the actually like scary Halloween movies, like Halloween.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
Halloween. And there was all of the like Freddy Krueger movies and Freddy vs. Jason. But then there was also the really cool Disney Halloween movies, like Halloween Town. Oh my goodness, I loved Halloween Town. And then there was all of the spin-offs of that.
I'm actually not a big fan of holiday-themed movies.
It's such a shame that you don't really like holiday movies because I feel like Halloween has some of the best.
I just forget about them. I think really the only holiday movies are Halloween and Christmas.
Yeah, there's not really many Thanksgiving. Maybe for Thanksgiving there's a Charlie Brown movie. Oh, there is, and it's good. Like Charlie Brown has a Halloween. Who is it? I think it's Charlie Brown. He gets a rock. I got a rock. Do you remember that? Of course you don't, because you don't remember Halloween.
Okay, so you say there are a lot of great Halloween movies. I don't think so, but that's a debate for another podcast or a different episode. What we're talking about today is, does Halloween make kids evil? And in this study specifically, researchers took a group of about 58 kids that were aged between 9 and 13 years old. And these kids had Halloween costumes on. Some had masks, some didn't. And basically they were instructed to take 2 pieces of candy. And then the person who instructed them would leave the room. And they would see if the kid would take 2 pieces of candy or if they would take more. And a majority of the time, the kids who had masks on would take more than 2 pieces of candy.
Yeah, and this is mainly because the kids who were wearing masks were most likely to be unrecognizable. And so they felt confident that, oh, they won't know who I am, so I'll just take a little bit extra. Yeah,
it makes them less likely to know the difference between right and wrong. Because they're not paying attention to how they're behaving. Like, they're a different character, right? So kind of maybe take that characteristics, or, like you said, you don't recognize them, so they just be like, hey, I can kind of do what I want. No one's going to know it was me.
Yeah, and in social psychology, this is called de-individuation. So this means they basically lose their sense of self-awareness in groups. Like, they lose touch of who they are. And essentially, like you said, they become this new character.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think makes sense because I actually have a very similar story to this where I'm not wearing a mask, but something that's like a mask.
You were in a costume.
Yes, I was wearing a costume and I had black lipstick and I took off my glasses. So I was this totally new person and I literally saw the world differently because I took off my glasses.
You saw it worse.
I did. I think this was the last Halloween that I celebrated. I was around 13 or so years old, and I was not celebrating Halloween with my family, but I was with my friends. And that year, I was like a dark, evil fairy of some sort. So
Not any specific character, just like...
No. I was just wearing all black, and I had purple wings, and I was wearing black lipstick and eyeliner, and I took off my glasses. And I felt so edgy and so cool. And I was with my group of friends. And that night, I met a boy. And he was very cute. And I don't think he was wearing a costume. He was just wearing like dark clothes. And he looked kind of edgy too. And I was like, I'm wearing dark clothes and I'm edgy because I'm wearing black lipstick and no glasses. And I don't even remember his name. But I remember getting along with him so well. And he and his friend were like hanging out with me and my friends. And we exchanged numbers. And I was just so stoked. And then that night I slept over my friend's house. And the next morning we had talked about meeting up with this guy and his friends the following day. And the next morning I realized, oh crap. Like, I'm not that character.
You're not the dark fairy.
No, I'm not the dark fairy. I don't wear black lipstick. I wear glasses. And I don't actually own any black clothes other than the black clothes that I wore last night. So I had packed blue jeans and a pink Hollister t-shirt. And I was like, what do I do? He's going to realize I'm a phony. I'm not that character.
So you had lost all the previous day confidence.
Yeah, I did. Because I, the night before, had become this character who was like louder and more out there and
didn't... A little edgy.
Yeah. And I just had so much confidence. And then the following morning I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? How do I pretend to somewhat at least be like this character a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
So my way of being like this character a little bit was taking off my glasses the next day. And I was like, I have these glasses for a reason. I can't really see. So it was awful. We met up with him. Like, I was so nervous. So I was like, he's going to realize I'm not like this dark fairy with all this confidence. And we met up. It was awkward. And then I never spoke with him again. So all of this to say, I understand that feeling of you're in a costume or you're wearing a mask, you're with a group of people, and you become this new person. And so you're more likely to act differently. I wasn't evil, but I was definitely more confident, and I definitely did act differently.
Do you have a story similar to what these kids in the study went through, where like they were told only take 2 pieces of candy, but they took more?
Oh, yeah. I think every kid does that, where they're like, maybe I'll just shove my whole hand into this bowl of candy and see how much this person is going to let me take.
Uh-huh.
I remember...
hoping that they don't catch you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Even though they're watching you.
Yeah.
Their eyes are going directly towards your hand as it's entering the bowl that they're holding. When I was younger, I remember having conversations with my brother, who's just a few years older than me, and saying, like, do you think you could take, like, more than one? Like, how many do you think you can take? And I remember being like, psh, I can do it. And shoving my chubby little hand into this bowl of candy, and then people would be like, only one. And then I'd have to watch all of the good candy fall out and only pick up the first that was on the top, which is usually not the best.
Well, they're not telling you you can only have the one on the top. You still could have picked out the one you liked. Yeah, I guess you're right. You know, I'm thinking now, there's this recent challenge that went on maybe a few months ago where parents would leave their kid alone with like candy or cake or something like that. They would tell them, hey, don't eat any of this yet. I'll be right back. And they would leave. And of course, the parents are recording the kid, you know, but the kid doesn't know. Mm. And to see how long the kids can like have self-control, or if they'll eat the candy or the cake or whatever. It's something obviously sweet that the kids want.
I've never seen this challenge, but that sounds awful.
And I actually know someone who did this. he has a daughter, and he recorded her. I can't remember exactly if it was, but I think it was candy. And he just said, don't have any. I'll be right back. I want to eat this together. And he left, and his daughter didn't take anything.
How long before he was gone did she take something?
She didn't take anything at all.
Oh, okay.
Like, he actually did come back. I think maybe like 5 minutes or so passed, maybe a little longer. But the kid just sat there looking at it, kind of just like, come on, hurry up, Dad.
That's so sweet.
But the dad came back, and it was still there.
I think the difference was he prefaced it by saying, I want to have this together.
Well, I don't know if he said that specifically, but I think the difference is it wasn't Halloween, right? It was the kid themselves. And
I guess she wasn't wearing a mask, so she didn't have that extra boost of confidence either.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That it was just her, the daughter. There's no mask, no sense of like de-individuation.
Okay.
And as we were researching this, masks are more in male costumes.
Yeah.
Than they are in female costumes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when we talked about this a little bit beforehand, and then I realized that, like, wow, there really aren't any masks for females. Like, I think I had one mask when I was around 6 years old because I was Angelica from the Rugrats, but I chose not to wear it because it just got in the way. It was like a whole thing. Mm-hmm. But other than that, there were no other opportunities for me to even consider having a mask because my costumes didn't require a mask.
It's mostly just princesses.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with gender roles. Also, there aren't any spooky costumes, I feel like, for females. Like with guys, it would be very easy. You could be Freddy Krueger and you can have like a very porous looking face, or you could be Jason from Jason. I wonder why that is.
Even some of the popular Halloween costumes are like superheroes. And most of the male superheroes have masks. Spider-Man, Batman, Iron Man.
That's true.
And a lot of female ones don't. A lot of female ones are just their face.
I kind of feel like that ties into gender roles even more. Like men or boys are taught at an early age to be more confident. Like this de-individuation topic. Like they're pretending to be something else, and so they exude more confidence, and girls are kind of discouraged from that. This is another reason why Halloween is not a good holiday.
I don't think you've ever said that Halloween isn't a good holiday.
It's perpetuating gender roles.
You said that you looked forward to it all the time.
I did, but as a child, you don't think about gender roles ever.
I guess so, but I also feel like this conversation is for another episode.
I agree.
But talking about masks, it led me to another thought. Could we apply the same like results of this study to now and how people are wearing masks now?
Absolutely.
You think so?
Yeah.
See, I'm not so sure that you could, because while people are wearing masks now, it's not a costume. Right? You can still see who they are.
Yeah, but I think that you go outside or you go to a grocery store with a bit more confidence, knowing that nobody really knows who you are. They can only see your clothes and your eyes.
I think to me, it would be, no one can recognize me. Like, no one else I know will recognize me.
Yeah.
So I won't have to, like, stop and have conversation with them.
Yeah, you don't have to have conversation. And maybe you don't even have to, like, dress up at all. Because nobody cares. Nobody knows who you are. And so there's a bit more confidence. Maybe it doesn't make people more evil, but it does create more confidence in people when they go out. Like, today's not a very good hair day, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to wear a mask and no one cares, and I don't either.
I know I did this a few weeks ago where I had to go to a UPS or something, and I had facial hair, and my facial hair grows badly, and I'm like, should I shave this now or should I shave it after? I'm like, I'll just shave it after because I'm wearing a mask. People won't even be able to see that my nasty facial hair.
Oh, speaking of nasty face, I have little pimple circle patches that I put on my face when I have a breakout. And oftentimes when I go to get groceries, I will put those patches on underneath my mask and nobody will know that I'm a pimple face and I'm trying to recover my acne. So
maybe it's more of the confidence of, people won't see how ugly I look.
How gross I am underneath. Yeah.
It's not about being evil, it's just hiding up your like insecurities.
I would say so.
That's interesting. I was thinking maybe you couldn't apply the results to today, but maybe you could.
There's some elements of it, yeah. For sure, the confidence. I know that's how I feel when I go out with my pimply face underneath my mask.
Yeah, and for some people that is a real problem. The masks are creating breakouts at those lines.
Yeah, that's exactly why I have to use those little pimple circle thingies. It creates the problem, but also it hides the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I can complain much. But back to the study. Do you think if you were a child in the study wearing a mask that you would take more or you would take just enough? Like, are you that honest?
I think I would have taken 2.
You'd have taken 2?
Yeah, which is how many the kids were told to take.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would have taken any more, regardless if I was wearing a mask or not.
That's just about your character.
Yeah, that's just about who I am.
Yeah, that is who you are.
I think you definitely would have taken more.
Yeah, I, on the other hand, would have taken more. I would have taken a whole handful.
I feel like you would have taken a full handful, put it in your pockets or whatever, and then when the instructor came back in and they asked you, did you take any? Oh, you would have said no.
No, I didn't. Oh, you can take 2. Okay. Take 2 more.
That seems like something a young Sam would do.
Oh, yeah. Especially knowing now that all it took was black lipstick and no glasses for me to become this entirely new character for a night.
So it at least seems like the headline of this article maybe exaggerated a little bit with evil, but there is something there where kids do let go of themselves in a way, and take on a character. Yeah, there's even another study cited in this article where they looked at about 1,300 kids who were assigned to various conditions, and they had the opportunity to take candy and money. They actually saw that more stealing actually occurred when you were in a group and had a mask on. Mm-hmm. Because it's just like kind of like group mentality. You're just not yourself.
And you can hide more easily. Yeah. You could have easily, the person who stole could have easily been the person next to you or behind you or in front of you. And so, yeah, you get lost in the crowd and it could have been anybody.
And you can't, they don't know who you are. Mm-hmm. Like, again, you're wearing a Halloween costume, you're wearing a mask. It's not you.
Yeah. And that's called an anonymity group interaction, which makes total sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. But I want to get into my story a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I teased this a little bit. It's just a sad Halloween story. It's really the only Halloween story of me specifically that I remember.
Okay.
I remember some of it, like with my little brother. But of me specifically, again, I don't know how old I was. I was maybe like 12. No, I feel like I was younger than that. Maybe 10 or something like that. I think I mentioned on a previous episode that my mom worked really hard. She had like long hours. And I think this Halloween was on during the week. And so she got off late and she didn't want to take me trick-or-treating. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, Mom, come on, let's go. I really want to go trick-or-treating. Let's go. And she finally agreed, but it was like 8 o'clock. And at this time, there's really no one handing out candy because I feel like trick-or-treating is maybe like 5 to 6:30
that's usually
to 7.
When it's stopped.
Yeah. And also, I didn't have a costume. I had maybe like a cape from maybe the year before for something. And so I was sort of planning on being like a vampire. So I just had this cape that was too big for me. I didn't have any other part of the costume. I didn't even have a black shirt. I had to borrow one of my mom's black shirts. And so it's like frilly, it's like soft, like sort of silk, but not exactly.
That's kind of good for a vampire though.
I guess, but it had like ridges. Like it was like, it wasn't just flat. So yeah, wearing this big cape, wearing this my mom's shirt, which is also too big for me. So like I have like a low neckline. You can see like my chest, and then I'm wearing just pants and just regular tennis shoes. And it's just me and my mom. She drove me to like a different neighborhood. I remember only going to one house. Aww. And because we were driving around trying to see who had the lights on still.
Okay.
And I think only this one house had the lights on. At this point, I've like felt so embarrassed because I'm realizing what I'm wearing. You know, just it's not even a costume. It's 8 o'clock at night. Halloween's pretty much over. I'm knocking on this door. I'm like, can I have some candy?
You didn't even say trick or treat. You asked, can I have some candy?
And I'm just so sad. And I think they mentioned something like, oh, like it's kind of late, or what are you supposed to be, or something like that. And it just made me feel even worse about myself. So I'm just like
you can't tell what I am.
I'm just like, Mom, let's just go home.
Did you at least get candy?
I think so. From that one house.
Did you just get one piece, or did you take a whole handful?
I don't remember. But it was also part of me. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but I don't feel like I had much of a childhood because, like I said before, my mom was a single parent, and it was just me and my brother and my mom. So around this time, it was just me trick-or-treating. It wasn't my brother yet. And didn't really have any friends or speak too much English. So when I got older and it was time for my brother to trick-or-treat, by this time she had made more friends and she spoke a little bit more English. So they would all go together, go trick-or-treating as a group.
And at that point, you had no interest.
And at that point, maybe not necessarily have no interest, but I was too old because it was my younger brother. He's like 5. I'm like 7 years older than him.
That's true. But 12 isn't that old for trick-or-treating.
Or maybe he was older, but like I was, teenager, already over 13 years old. And so it would be just weird if it was just me and a bunch of 8-year-olds or something.
Right.
And, I was a little jealous. I'll admit I was a little jealous because he got trick-or-treat. He got to go with friends, and my mom was actually willing to take him because there was also other people that she could go with.
That is so sad. Oh, if I knew you then, Robert, I would have gone trick-or-treating with you. I
guess so. You say that now, but maybe not. That's really the only memory of trick-or-treating I have, and it's a sad one.
I feel like the older you get as a kid, trick-or-treating becomes more and more sad.
It becomes more and more sad?
Yeah, because you feel like you're getting too old, or you become a burden to your parent who's like, oh, aren't you done doing this now? At least that was how I felt. My very last Halloween was the one that I mentioned previously, the embarrassing one. Because I was with my friends, it wasn't too bad. But before that, I was the only one of my siblings, because I'm the youngest, who was still of age to trick-or-treat. I didn't feel ready to stop trick-or-treating, but my mom was ready to stop taking me trick-or-treating. I remember I was in 5th grade, so I was 11 years old, which is okay to go trick-or-treating, I think. And I'd been thinking about, okay, what do I want to be for Halloween? And I really wanted to be an angel because I'd dressed up previously as a bunch of characters that I was interested in movies. But I was like, I want to be something a little bit more sophisticated because I'm 11 after all. And my mom didn't get me a Halloween costume. She didn't get me a Halloween costume. She never offered to take me anywhere. So I was like, okay, I have enough things in white that I could maybe use. And I had white gym shoes, and I had a white skirt, a white shirt, and I went to the dollar store and I got like wired shiny stuff so I could use it as a halo. And I got some wings, and I was like, okay, I can do this because I'm 11, and so I can make my own costume and I'll look really cool. And I remember I put it on for the very first time on Halloween night, and I was like, this looks awful. But it was too late to go back. And so I really wanted my mom to take me around neighborhoods, like the neighborhoods with the big houses, the big like full-size candy bars. I was hoping for that. Nope, she was not into it. She took me to the mall. We went to maybe 2 to 3 stores. I remember being so embarrassed and my mom sighing because she just didn't want to be there.
She was hoping that you would forget it was Halloween.
I guess so.
If she didn't mention it, then it didn't exist.
And I remember telling my mom, let's just go. And we left, and she didn't even fight me on it. And that was the last time that I went trick-or-treating with my mom. And obviously my siblings didn't go because they're much older than me. And yeah, that was my last like childhood trick-or-treating experience. So it gets sadder. And then you get older, and then you get like all this confidence, and then you put on black lipstick, and then you become this like emo fairy, whatever.
See, I don't think it necessarily gets sadder as you get older, because when you are younger, you're looking forward to it. It's candy. But then as you get older, I think you still look forward to it because, it's candy still. But then you can just hang out with your friends.
Yeah. You get excited for it for different reasons. But I think that as a kid who isn't really allowed to go out with just your friends because of 11, it becomes sad. Because then your parents are just tired of taking you. Like, aren't you done doing this by now?
So I guess we both have sad Halloween stories.
Yeah.
But yours happened younger than mine, I think.
I guess so. But then I guess it ended with me being like 13 or 14. And that one was just embarrassing.
I think I was done way before 13 or 14. I think I was probably done with Halloween maybe at like 11 years old. I feel like this sad Halloween story was probably my last one. Because after that, it's like, well, my mom definitely didn't want to take me. So why? What am I going to try? Like even get a costume or anything?
Yeah.
I didn't even have a costume. It was just a cape and regular clothes. I'm actually remembering it now. The year before, I was a vampire because I remember having fake blood. So I was wearing a costume from the year before, except the only thing I had left over was the cape. I didn't have the fake teeth. I didn't have fake blood. No shirt because it didn't fit me anymore. So yeah, I'm just remembering now. It was just the cape.
Which on its own is a little sad. I'm sorry about your sad Halloween experience, Robert.
Yeah, but at least my brother got all the Halloween candy. And I'm definitely not
Jealous.
envious, or jealous of it. Maybe a little.
So, in this study, the masks and the whole group mentality made kids evil.
Quote unquote evil. It was that word was used for dramatic effect, but there is something behind it.
Yeah. I would argue that sometimes it makes kids a little sad. Based off of our stories.
And like I mentioned earlier, I thought they were using evil because of like sugar. Because they're eating so much candy and they get hyper and so they're just more energetic.
Like the chemical reaction to the sugar.
I thought maybe that's what they meant. But no, it just means more of their own behavior and like the anonymity behind wearing a mask. But I guess we'll see how this year's Halloween is.
Oh my goodness,
because
you're right.
I think we're releasing this on the 26th. And so there's still a few days from Halloween.
Maybe they'll be even more confident because they'll be wearing 2 different types of masks. One on their eyes and then one on their mouth because of COVID.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, they're extra evil now. Thanks, COVID.
But that'll do it for us. Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to rate us 5 stars on wherever you're listening to. And share us with a friend. That'd be really helpful because we're a small podcast and just getting us out there. That's the real challenge.
Yeah.
And you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at A Recent Study Pod. And as we did a quick plug earlier, you can email your studies at arecentstudysuggest@gmail.com and they might be used in a future episode. Until next time.
Ooh, bye.
I'm a spooky vampire ghost.
Yeah.